The morning sun had just begun to rise over the abandoned construction site. A golden glow spilled across the horizon, catching on the rusted skeletons of half-built steel frames. They stood crooked and lifeless, like monuments to a dream that had long been forgotten. The ground was scattered with broken concrete slabs, weeds pushing stubbornly through cracks, and pools of water reflecting the dim orange sky. At first glance, it was a place devoid of life. Silent. Empty. A wasteland where time itself seemed to have stopped. But if one listened closely, beneath the rustling weeds and distant chirps of morning birds, there was another sound, faint, trembling, almost lost to the wind, a whimper. Padding carefully across the uneven cement was a puppy, no more than a few weeks old. Its fur was short and golden brown, its legs still clumsy, its paws oversized for its tiny body. Each step wobbled, each stumble sent small pebbles skittering across the ground. Yet despite its awkwardness, the little creature's nose twitched urgently, sniffing, following a scent it recognized as surely as its own heartbeat, its mother's scent. But something was wrong. The smell wasn't warm or comforting as usual. It was mixed with dust, fear, and desperation. The puppy froze, ears perked. Then came the sound again. Faint scratching from beneath the ground. The puppy tilted its head. Beneath a jagged slab of broken concrete, a muffled bark echoed upward. Its tiny heart raced. It was her. Somehow during the night, part of the ground had collapsed, creating a hollow pit beneath the surface. The mother dog had fallen through, trapped in darkness. She had clawed desperately at the steep concrete walls, but her strength had waned. By morning, her muzzle and one trembling paw barely reached through the crack, a last attempt to touch the daylight. At! The puppy scrambled forward. High-pitched barks burst from its throat, circling the hole, nudging the cement with its nose. Its small paws scratched helplessly at the heavy slab. It's too small, too weak, but unwilling to give up. The mother whimpered in response, her eyes wide with fear and exhaustion. The sound only spurred the puppy on. Again and again it pawed, barked, wind-calling, pleading for help in the only way it knew. Minutes passed, then an hour. The sun climbed higher, warming the steel frames above. The air grew thick with dust and heat. The mother grew weaker, her paw slipping back into the shadows. But the puppy refused to stop. It backed away from the hole and then sprinted toward the edge of the site, yelping at the top of its lungs. The cries echoed against the hollow shells of unfinished buildings, bouncing across the empty lot. It was a cry of desperation, but also of determination. And then, as if the universe itself had answered, two children walking home from school along a dirt path nearby paused. One tilted his head. "Do you hear that?" The other frowned. "It sounds like a puppy." They followed the cries, weaving between piles of broken bricks and weeds taller than themselves, until at last they spotted the little dog.
Ow.
It barked at them frantically, then spun and ran back toward the crack in the ground.
Ow.
The children exchanged nervous looks but followed. When they reached the slab, their eyes widened. From beneath the concrete, a dog's head appeared, eyes wide, teeth clenched in silent pain. "Something's trapped down there," one whispered. The children wasted no time. They sprinted home breathless and told their father what they had seen. At first he frowned in disbelief, but when he heard the urgency in their voices, he gathered ropes, a shovel, and called on his neighbors. Soon a small crowd made its way to the abandoned site. Men carried tools, women brought water, children trailed behind, curious but wide-eyed. And at the center of it all was the puppy barking, wagging, circling, never leaving the hole, as if guiding the humans to the exact spot where help was needed. The villagers crouched down, peering into the crack. Gasps escaped their lips. There she was, the mother dog, trapped, her body pressed against the jagged earth, her breathing shallow. Work began immediately. But the task was more difficult than it appeared. The concrete was heavy and unstable. Each wrong move risked making the hole collapse further, crushing the dog beneath. One man looped a rope around the slab while another wedged an iron bar into a crevice. They strained, sweat dripping down their faces as the metal groaned. The puppy barked louder, as though urging them on, sometimes even trying to squeeze its tiny body into the crack to reach its mother. The mother dog whimpered, eyes darting between her rescuers and her little one. The sight of the puppy, so small, so determined, seemed to give her the strength to keep fighting. Minutes stretched into an hour. The sun blazed overhead, dust clung to every face, and muscles ached from the effort. Still, they pushed forward. Then, at last, a grinding sound split the air. With one final heave, the slab shifted. It tilted, then toppled aside, crashing to the dirt. A cloud of dust rose, stinging eyes and throats. Through the haze, a pair of strong arms reached down. Hands gripped the trembling dog's body and pulled. With a final desperate scramble of her paws, the mother emerged from the holderdy, scratched, trembling, but alive. For a heartbeat, silence hung over the crowd. Then, with a squeal of pure joy, the puppy leaped onto her chest, yelped, licked her face furiously, its little tail wagging so hard it nearly toppled over. The mother whimpered back, pressing her muzzle against her baby, nuzzling, licking, trembling with relief. Their cries blended together, mother and child reunited beneath the open sky. Some of the onlookers wiped tears from their eyes. Others simply stood in silence, awed by what they had witnessed. One man whispered softly, almost reverently, "That little one saved her life." The tale spread quickly through the village and beyond. People spoke of the tiny puppy who refused to give up, whose cries had brought help when none would have come. Some said it was instinct. Others said it was love. But those who had stood there, who had seen the determination in that puppy's eyes, knew the truth. Courage knows no size, and love can overcome even the heaviest stone. The family who had come to the rescue could not bear to leave the dogs behind. They took the mother and her puppy home, giving them food, shelter, and a warm place to sleep. The puppy grew strong, its fur glossy, its legs sturdy, yet in its eyes remained the same fire, the fierce determination of the day it saved its mother. The mother, too, carried the memory. She never strayed far from her pup, always keeping it close. To the villagers, they became symbols of resilience, of hope, and of the unbreakable bond between mother and child. Even years later, if one visits that quiet corner of the abandoned site, locals still tell the story. They point to the cracked ground, now overgrown with weeds, and say, "This is where it happened. The smallest among us carried the biggest heart. A puppy saved its mother here." When as the wind whispers through the rusted steel frames, and the sun casts its light on the broken concrete, one can almost hear it still, the bark of a little hero who refused to let go.